Hi, and welcome to Out of My Mind. My name is Robinson Wells, and today we're going to be talking about the most prevalent mental illness in the world, depression. It's estimated that in the United States, 15% of the entire population will have depression at some point in their lives. All right, the first myth about depression is that depression isn't a real illness. A lot of people think that because depression is the same thing, or think that depression is the same thing as being sad or down or lonely, because that's kind of the definition of the word depression. But depression, the illness, is very different from depression, the mood. That is why it's often called clinical depression, because many people poo poo depression and say, oh, that's not a real thing. Technically, the term for it is not clinical depression, but major depressive disorder. And that is basically defined as a depression that lasts for more than 2 weeks. Um, it is a real thing. It is caused by something referred to as the biopsychosocial model, meaning that it's caused by biology, psychology, and social experiences, which all lead to the illness. If you don't believe that there is a physiological uh, component to depression, go to the National Institute on Mental Health and search for studies on depression. There are 977 of them that are all scholarly articles looking into depression as a real illness. This is not something that is up for debate. Depression is a real illness. All right, myth number two is that you can simply get over it. This is said all too often by people who don't have a clear understanding of what depression is. They're still thinking of it as an emotion or a mood. No one chooses to be depressed. Depression is not fun. Many people think that it can be cured with just have a positive attitude, take a shower, and get off that couch, and everything will be okay. But depression is not a sign of self pity or weakness or laziness. It is a medical condition, and while it can be treated, it's not something that can be overcome by just positive thinking or fake it till you make it. Myth number three, antidepressants are awful and they will change your personality and you'll be on them forever. Medicine changes the chemistry of the brain, and that can often, obviously, be scary. And not every pill works for every person. That's why you see on TV so many different antidepressants for sale. Prozac helps some people, Lexapro helps some people, Zoloft, Effexor, Celexa, Wellbutrin. All of them help in different ways. The thing that you have to keep in mind is that, well, compared to our research on other parts of the body, our understanding of the physiology of the brain is about 50 years behind the curve compared to other organs in the body. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to be on the right meds. Of course you should. And just because two or three have failed, it doesn't mean that they'll all fail. Antidepressants can have side effects, but if you find the right one for you, you'll be so much better off. You can go back to the old you back before depression was dragging you down. And as for the allegation that you're going to be on it your whole life, that is not necessarily true. Yes, there are some people who need to be on it for extended periods of time, but doctors very often will recommend psychological therapy as opposed to uh, just medicine, and you can eventually wean your way off of it. Myth number four, if you can function, you're not depressed. A lot of people think that that if you're able to go to work and go to school, then you can't really have depression. But depression is a hidden disease. Instead of having symptoms like sneezing and coughing or a fever, you have symptoms like lethargy and loneliness and sadness. And I'm mentioning this not to convince sufferers that they have a hidden disease because they know it, but to convince their family members and their coworkers and their bosses. Myth number five, depression only affects women. Uh, no, that's not true. Worldwide, there are 216 million sufferers of depression. And while the stats show that it is twice as likely to affect women, 2 out of 3 depression sufferers are women, that still comes to 71 million depression sufferers who are men. Plus, studies show and theorize that many men do have depression, but there is so much stigma attached to it, especially in the workplace, that historically uh, men have been slow to report that they actually have the symptoms. So that 71 million, that number could be significantly higher. But it's my sincere hope that this episode will be viewed by people without depression, the people who don't know what it's like, and who make decisions that affect the lives of sufferers. And I hope they can learn a little here. Thank you for watching this episode. If you like it, hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.